Hello, and welcome to A Fan Reads The Star Wars Vault. In this episode
of Critics and Critiques, George Lucas says that he largely ignores critics. Certainly, the Star Wars saga, taken as a whole, has received both ecstatic and damning reviews. In 3 decades, there also have been thousands of feature stories and many thousands of minutes of airtime filled with Star Wars news. While the original Star Wars received mostly glowing reviews from critics who were excited by its freshness and fun, there were others, like the New Yorker's acerbic Pauline Kael, who complained that the loudness, the smash and grab editing, the relentless pacing drive every idea from your head, and who insisted that the movie was an assemblage of spare parts. It has no emotional grip. Lucas has also had to shoulder the theory that Star Wars single-handedly ruined the movie business by pushing studios to invest mainly in large franchise or tentpole movies, sole named because they serve as primary support for a studio helping to compensate for flops. Star Wars was not the first genre-driven summer box office champ. That distinction goes to Jaws, which actually was lavished with studio and theater owners' attention, unlike Star Wars. A case could also be made that small independent movies are now stronger and more plentiful than ever. As Lucas pointed out in a conversation with Time magazine's critic Richard Corliss, it was the money from Star Wars and Jaws that allowed the theaters to build their multiplexes, which allowed an opening up of screens. They had all these screens they needed to fill. So all the little Miramaxes came up and said, "We'll help you fill those." And those companies were able to start making some money. And so then more people were doing it. And then the studios were saying, gee, if we can get a movie for $10 million, it's not a big investment. Let's start a little company that does nothing but distribute little movies. Like Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back received near unanimous glowing reviews, but the one that always surfaces is the New York Times' dismissive Vincent Canby, who had praised the first film, but who lamented, "When I went to see The Empire Strikes Back, I found myself glancing at my watch almost as often as I did when I was sitting through a truly terrible movie called The Island. Even Yoda, whom he generally praised, can be taken only in small doses, possibly because the lines of wisdom he must speak sound as if they should be sung to a tune by Jimmy Van Housen." Not surprisingly, both Canby and KL threw up their hands in astonishment because they just couldn't believe the positive reviews by the majority of their colleagues. Given Lucas's disdain for critics, it came as a shock to see him wearing one screed during the filming of Episode 1. It was on a t-shirt made as a self-mocking gift for ILM employees who had worked on the Star Wars Special Edition, and it reprinted the opening of a long New Yorker story on the Star Wars phenomenon, which ran in January 1997, just before the Special Edition's hugely successful release in theaters. Star Wars, a film with comic book characters, unbelievable story, no political or social commentary, lousy acting, preposterous dialogue, and a ridiculously simplistic morality. In other words, a bad movie. Actually, the rest of the story was fairly positive.
That's it for now. Thank you for watching A Fan Reads The Star Wars Vault.